Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Healing Her podcast. I'm so excited about today's episode. It is a special solo episode all about my first pregnancy. So if you don't follow me on social media or YouTube, Instagram, all those places, you probably have no idea that I am pregnant. I am 16 weeks today, and I wanted to just come on and do an episode about it and just talk to you guys about my first trimester and what's happened so far and all the good stuff, and then all the things that I've struggled with a little bit too. And then over the next few weeks, I'm going to be interspersing some episodes with mamas or mamas to be, talking about their pregnancies, their birth stories, being a mom. So if you are a mom or if you're a mom to be and you want to come on and talk about your story and share that with me and with our listeners, definitely fill out the application, which I'll link for you guys in the show notes. But I just wanted to have a little bit more of an intimate conversation about what I've gone through with this pregnancy and what it's like. And being pregnant is totally new. I've never been pregnant before. This is my first ever pregnancy. It's our first baby, and we're really, really, really excited about it. So we start the story really in January, which, you know, when Tim and I got married in November of 2016. It's fine. I know when we got married. But when we got married in November of 2016, I really thought that I would not want to have kids for like 4 or 5 years. Like I always thought that I would wait a really long time to have kids. And we got married and I was 28. He is about 2.5 years younger than I am. And so I thought we would just wait longer to have kids. That was partially because Tim was younger, but also mostly because I really wanted to wait. And I've always been the kind of person that has definitely wanted kids, and it was something that I thought about growing up, that I would want kids someday, but I also kind of didn't want kids in a way. And I struggled with that my whole life because I felt like from a lot of watching parents get divorced, my parents are not divorced, but watching parents of friends get divorced and things like that growing up, I felt like I would hear a lot of blame being placed on kids. And I think it was unintentional that, you know, people would talk about how much harder it gets to have your relationship after you have kids. And I just really heard that a lot as a kid. And it just clouded my viewpoint of kids. And I know that life does get harder when you have kids, but I don't look at it that way, that it's harder, I guess. I don't like that adjective. I like the word that it's just more of an adventure, right? Everything changes a little bit, but I'm a person that loves change and I thrive with change. And so I always would tell Tim, I definitely wanted kids. Like he knew it, but we would joke. Like I would say, I want kids, but I don't want kids. Yeah, I want kids someday, but I don't want kids. And I always knew that I wanted kids, but what happened in January of this year, so January 1st, literally of 2018, I woke up and all of a sudden, like, knew that I wanted to have kids now. Like, I was ready to start trying for a baby. Really wanted a baby. It was crazy. It was literally like someone flipped a switch in my head, which is funny because I didn't watch a lot of pregnancy or mom videos before getting pregnant, but I have watched quite a few now. And a lot of people say that one day they just woke up and they knew that they were ready to have kids. They knew that they were ready for that new adventure and that time in their life. And that's really how it felt for me. I woke up, I felt totally different. And the craziest thing is either that night or the next night, Tim and I were just sitting and watching TV and kind of hanging out. And Tim looked at me and said, do you want to think about trying for a baby? And we hadn't talked about this in 6 months, maybe. We've talked about it here and there, like our casual timeline, but we didn't really have a timeline either. We were just kind of waiting until we were both ready. And every time we would talk about it, we'd be like, yeah, we're not ready yet. We're not ready. And so I thought it was crazy that Tim brought that up. And I just was like, yes, how did you know? That's exactly what I've been thinking about. I woke up today or yesterday, whenever he had said it, and I just knew that I was ready to start trying for a baby. So about 5 days after that, I went to my doctor, and I'd been on the pill for about 16 years since I had started my period when I was 16 years old. So I guess technically about 14 years because I was getting ready to turn 30. And I stopped taking the pill and we started trying right away. Our doctor said that, with taking the pill for so long, sometimes you ovulate your first month, sometimes you don't. So just to go ahead and start trying, she went over kind of like the schedule of how you can start trying. But from the beginning, Tim and I really wanted this to be about like very casual trying. We didn't want to kind of obsess over it and do temperature taking and ovulation tests. We wanted to just really have fun with it and just, kind of have a lot of sex and do our thing and just enjoy this time and not be so worried and stressed about it. We both knew that if we stressed about it or obsessed over it, that it would make it really hard for us and put a lot of extra pressure on us. And that was something that we just really didn't want. We started trying in January, so this was very much a planned pregnancy. And obviously, I didn't get pregnant in February. My first cycle was about 45 days because I had been on the pill for so long. So I don't even know if I ovulated. But what I wasn't expecting was when I got my period in February, I had a little bit of a meltdown. I think I've been a little bit fearful my entire life since I suffered with my eating disorder, which I talked a little bit about in last week's episode, that I wouldn't be able to have kids. My doctor would tell me that I didn't have my period for a year at that time when I was struggling with the eating disorder. And he would tell me that if I didn't gain weight and I didn't start, working towards that I was maybe not going to be able to have kids or that I would have issues. And so I've weirdly had that's really stuck with me. And so I had all these fears kind of going into trying that I was trying to surrender and let go of. But I found it really hard. I was like, can my body do this? And I think when you're trying for your first baby and your first pregnancy, a lot of those fears come up because you've never done it before. You have no idea, like, can my body carry a baby? Like, does my body know how to do this? Can I get pregnant? Am I going to struggle to get pregnant? And I think we hear a lot of stories of miscarriage. We hear a lot of stories of people really struggling with infertility and trying to get pregnant. And so we can really lean into that, and that can make us feel insecure in our own bodies. And so what was really important for me was really giving up the need to control that, because that's really what it was about, controlling whether or not I was able to get pregnant, right? Because that's an illusion. I was not in control of that. It was my body was going to, be able to, or we would need assistance or whatnot. And so this meltdown in February when I got my period was kind of crazy because all those fears were just very present and I very much felt them and I was really emotional. And Tim was like, hey, honey, I thought this is what I didn't want. I didn't want to put a lot of pressure on it. And I was like, I know, but it feels like my hormones are cranked up to 1,000,000 because I just want a baby so bad. And it was something that I was just really yearning for and that I would think about every day. And I didn't tell Tim that because we weren't trying to put pressure on it. But for me, I don't think it was as much of a pressure as it was just such a burning desire to be pregnant and have a baby. And it was literally like that switch flipped in my head where I was like, not ready for kids, totally ready for kids, right? Which that's also like totally ready wouldn't be the way I would describe it. Like, was I 100% ready for everything that was going to come with kids? I don't think I thought about all of that. I know what that's like. I have 5 nieces and nephews and I'm around them all the time, but I wasn't like, I'm ready for the diapers and the late nights and the sleep deprivation. I was more like, I'm ready to create life. That's really how my body felt and how my emotions felt and what I was really attached to. And that was where the desire came from. And so having that burning desire just set me off when I got my period. And I really started to question, like, can I do this? Is my body going to be able to do this? And I was really nervous. And then Tim and I kind of talked about it. And then he was like, just try to take the pressure off. Like, it's okay. It takes people like 6 months to a year, especially with the first pregnancy. And I remember when he would say that, just thinking like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could wait that long. Like, that's stressful. Like, I can't. And I started thinking of all the people that struggle with infertility and just how long they wait and how long that they try for. And I started feeling so deeply for those people and wondering if I was going to be one of them. And it was so many emotions and so many feelings. And then in March, I got my period too, at the beginning of March. And again, I was really devastated. And I wasn't prepared when we started trying to feel that devastated every time my period would come, but there were always tears. And I felt this sense of, it wasn't a sense of loss, but it was just a fear. I felt worried, like, can my body do this? And I felt a lot of stress and a lot of fear and a lot of, just emotions. And, Tim was really, really good at calming me down. And in March, we had a really long conversation that was very tearful on my end. And he just said, listen, honey, how this works, and you know how your body responds to stress, you know how your body responds to anxiety. Like, you've seen the physical symptoms that you've manifested in your life, like the heart palpitations and the racing heart and the trouble swallowing. That was like a weird one. And the headaches and just different things, anxiety, symptoms that when you're worried manifest in your body. He said, this is not any different. So you have to let go of this, and you have to be able to relax, or I don't think that we're going to get pregnant for a while. And I said, I really think you're right. I mean, this was like hours of conversation and so many tears on my end. And Tim is so patient with me and so kind. And he just knows how this works. And I think he's an optimistic realist. He's a very realistic person, but he's so supportive, and he's a really good listener. And he really just understands me and the way that I work and my mind works, even though our minds work very differently, because I'm like an eternal optimist and very positive person, and I don't like being super realistic. Well, what people would call realistic, and I'm definitely not a negative person. And so I was like, you know what, honey, I think you're right. I think that the only way we're going to get pregnant is if I can just let go. And so in March, I stopped thinking about it. I started connecting with my husband. I meditated more, got back with my routine, which I'd kind of gotten off of because I was just so focused on other things. And I just connected more with my husband, and we got pregnant in March. And I found out on April 9th. So I was 4 weeks pregnant when I found out, because I found out on the day I would have missed my period. I am lucky in that my period, even without birth control, comes as soon as like that 45-day cycle was over. When I first came off the pill, it was literally the same time every month, like 28 days. So even though I only had a couple, I knew the day that I would miss it. So I took it that day. So I was 4 weeks pregnant when I found out. So that day I'll never forget. I won't ever forget my reaction. I won't forget the feelings. I waited until Tim went to work. I took the test by myself because I always knew that I wanted to have a cute surprise for Tim and be able to really enjoy that, especially because he got to surprise me with the proposal. And I love a good surprise, like pretty much more than anything else. I love being surprised. And so I really wanted to have a special moment and plan for Tim to be a dad. So I wanted to take it when he wasn't here. And I remember just thinking, like, every other test has been negative, even though it was only 3 months. I just 100% thought it was going to be negative. But my body knew. And if you watch my first pregnancy video, my pregnancy announcement on YouTube, I talk about how I told Tim and how I knew I was pregnant. So I'm not going to get too much into that, but I did pretty much know that morning that I was pregnant, but I didn't want to believe it almost, because I didn't want to be let down. And that month I'd really focused on not thinking about it, not worrying about it, totally surrendering. And so it was really important for me to have kind of a neutral mindset. Like, if I'm pregnant, great. If I'm not, great. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep doing the thing. And I was pregnant, and I recorded it for my own personal. I'm never going to share it, but I recorded my reaction. And I mean, it's raw emotion. I just sobbed on the bathroom floor. I couldn't believe it. I was just so shocked and so happy. And I was shocked. You try for something, and we'd only been trying for 3 months, which I feel very lucky that we got pregnant so quickly. And if you're somebody that's out there that's had trouble with infertility and been trying for a really long time, listen, I feel for you, and I send you so much love and so much healing. And I don't know what it's like, obviously, to try for 6 months or a year, but I have so many family and friends that have. I have really, really close friends that have struggled with infertility and problems getting pregnant. And I feel like I understand it on a whole other level now that I, even just had 3 months where we weren't pregnant, and I just experienced those emotions on a different level than, if we would have been trying for a year. But I still just send you so much love and just good energy, and just hope for you to get there and have your miracle and your little baby. So just know that I think of you guys, and I think of you often. And it was something that has become a lot more to the front of my mind, especially after being pregnant and talking to people, so many people, moms who have struggled with miscarriage, with infertility, with, a lot of different things. So anyway, if you want to watch that video, I'm posting all of my pregnancy update videos and all of that good stuff on my YouTube channel, which I will have linked below for you as well. So you can see my first trimester update. I also did a 10 things I learned in my first trimester type video, which is just kind of my best advice, just kind of little takeaways that were important for me, one of which was mindset. So I want to talk a little bit about that with you guys today, because mindset in pregnancy is something that's really important. I joke with pretty much everybody now. Joke is a loose term because it's totally serious, but pregnancy is an absolute crash course in intuition and listening to your intuition. And if you have never listened to your intuition or gotten those gut feelings or had that sense of what your intuition sounded like or felt like in your body, then you're going to get it with pregnancy, because it happens fast and furious, from the cravings to the changes in hormones and the emotions and the mentality to the changes in your body and the organs shifting around and the stretching and the growing. And it just is a complete lesson in intuition. And I learned so many things in my first trimester, but one of the biggest things I learned was how important mindset was. And that really came along when I was sick for about 6 weeks. I suffered with, I felt like it was suffering, though. I had a really, really hard time with morning sickness, because I had morning sickness, which was all day and all night sickness. And then I had really bad motion sickness that was basically the same thing at the same time. And so it was painful almost to drive, to look at my phone, to watch TV, to work on my computer, because scrolling made me want to throw up. And I just had really high grade nausea for about 6 weeks. I wasn't throwing up every day, and I did not have anything like hyperemesis, and I didn't even lose a lot of weight at all. I didn't gain any weight, but I was really eating the brat diet, right? Bananas, rice, applesauce, and toast. And so I really struggled with feeling purpose-filled and purpose-driven. And I knew I was creating this amazing human, but all these experiences and feelings were so new to me, and I was just having a really hard time staying positive. I was just feeling very much lost, very much not like myself. That was one of the first things I noticed when I got pregnant. The first 2 weeks were pretty blissful. I was in a lot of pain in terms of cramping and stretching and things like that we ended up going to the doctor at week 5 to make sure that it wasn't an ectopic pregnancy, because I was in so much pain. But that ended up slowing down a little bit into week 6, and week 6 was when I got really sick and just experienced for about 5 weeks just an extreme amount of morning sickness and wasn't able to do much. And I remember just laying on the couch and staring at the ceiling. I couldn't have the TV on. Walking around just doing really basic things felt like it made me so sick. And I think it would have been a little easier had I had a job that I needed to get up and get ready for and go to work every day and had coworkers. But it was really hard that I was working from home every single day and feeling sick every single day. Taking care of the dogs and just myself was hard. And I struggled with staying positive and feeling like it was all going to be okay, because my nausea was so bad and I felt so incapable of living my normal life. I couldn't work out. I couldn't eat things that I wanted to eat. I couldn't do things that I wanted to do. And I just felt really down. And a lot of people say that, mindset has a lot to do with it, which it does. But I also think that when you're feeling that sick, it's really easy to say, have a really positive mindset and maybe you'll start to feel better. And it's totally different to actually do it. And I've applied positive mindsets and affirmations and all of those things in my life in so many ways. And I've been, on this spiritual journey for a long time. But going into pregnancy, I wasn't prepared for the massive hit to my mindset and my ability to shift my mindset. And I thought so many times about people who suffer with chronic pain and chronic illness, and I can't even tell you how many times I just sat on my couch with my hands open, sending love and healing energy to people in the world that struggle with chronic pain and illness, because I myself was feeling so sick, chronically sick for weeks. And I just didn't know, because you don't know when you've never been pregnant before. Is this going to last for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks? Is this going to last my whole pregnancy? And I was one of those people who I was able to really shift my mindset and tell myself, and I did affirmations every day, this gets better every day. This gets easier every day. I get healthier every day. I start to feel better every day. Really basic but powerful affirmations like that, I definitely worked on and kept in my routine every morning. And I was never somebody that believed this was going to last my whole pregnancy. In fact, I refused because I couldn't imagine going through it. So again, if you are or have suffered with morning sickness your whole pregnancy, sending you so much love and just healing and all of those good positive vibes and affirmations, because that was my biggest struggle in my first trimester, was really dealing with the morning sickness and the mindset. And so just do what you can do and have grace and compassion for yourself. And it took me about 4 weeks to figure that out. I beat myself up about starting to eat meat again after being vegan for a year and a half because my body wanted it so badly. It was the only thing that would make me feel not nauseous, in fact, starting to eat meat again. And then I also just beat myself up about not being able to be there as much for my community and not, feeling like I was giving 100% of my effort in my business every day and not being on social media. And I just remember tearing myself down day after day, which is completely opposite of everything that I teach and everything that I, stand for when it comes to women and empowerment. And I was trying to remind myself that my body was doing this unbelievable, amazing thing, and I needed to just be grateful for that and enjoy it, because it wasn't going to, it doesn't last long, right? It seems like we're pregnant for a really long time, 9 months, that's a long time, right? But at the same time, it goes so quickly, and you want to just enjoy it and be there for it and be present for it. And that was something that I really needed to figure out. And so it took me 4 weeks to have grace and compassion and kindness towards myself. But that was a really big thing that I learned, along with mindset. Mindset is hard when you're feeling sick, when you're feeling crappy, when you're feeling all the emotions that are negative and wearing and just fearful. And so do your affirmations, do your meditation, stick with your routine for sure, but then have grace and compassion for yourself and let yourself off the hook. You don't need to do everything perfectly. Pregnancy is about slowing down, about connecting to this new life that you're growing, about connecting to yourself and your body and your intuition in a completely new and exciting way. And I just really needed to feel into that. And so that's really where I stand with mindset and how it impacted me, especially in my first trimester. And it's definitely gotten better. My energy levels are up in my second trimester. I'm not as tired, which is amazing. I still get tired, but I'm not quite as tired as I was in my first trimester, which really felt like I'd been hit by a truck every single day that I woke up. I was like, I just slept for 8 hours. Why is my body telling me that I need to nap? This doesn't make any sense. So second trimester has definitely been a little bit easier, but I still have the days where, I just feel a little off and a little bit just confused or scared, or have those worries that, is everything going to be okay? Is baby growing okay? I think the fears in pregnancy are so real because you feel responsible for this new life, right? Your body is growing this new life. And that just leads me to the topic of surrender and how important it is to really let go during this process. You cannot control how your body is going to do this. You just can't. So you have to keep listening to your intuition, doing what you can, like getting some exercise in, eating some good nutrient-dense foods, but then also just listening to your body and what it wants. If it wants meat, if it wants dairy, if it wants carbs, that's all really important. That crash course in intuition comes immediately when you're pregnant. You start to learn and you start to grow in that intuitive power. And I think it's been really fun so far as my intuition heightens and I start to see changes in those abilities and that connection to my body even more and even deeper. And so, there are so many questions and so many things that we want to know. Like, is everything going right? Is the baby growing okay? Is everything going to be good? Is he or she going to be happy and healthy? Am I going to be a good mom? Am I going to be a good dad? All of those things. And I think it's just really important to try to surrender and let go of any of those expectations and just trust. That's what I've been reminding myself to do. Every time I get worried, I say, everything is going to be fine. I trust that my body knows how to do this. And really just leaning in to those feelings of security in your body, in its ability to do this. We're literally made to do this, to bring life into this world, and we've been doing it for thousands of years. And so just trust, just surrender, just let go. I know it's easier said than done. Don't get me wrong. There are days, like I said, when I don't trust at all and I start to get really scared. But those are the things that I try to remind myself of, because I also just don't want to live my pregnancy worried all the time about this. I want to enjoy it. I want to be present for it. I want to journal about it and be excited about it. And I don't want to be thinking about all the bad things that could happen, or is everything going okay? I'm just going to choose to believe that everything is going to be okay and it's going exactly as it should be. I know that I've got angels and God and the universe and my spirit guides and all of those beautiful, beautiful beings that guide us in this world with me. And I trust that everything is happening for my highest good and for this baby and this soul's highest good, and that all is going to be okay. And if you're listening to this and you're like, Abby, I don't know what you're talking about, you crazy. It's okay. I totally have those days too, like I said. But just lean in a little bit more, let go a little more, because fearing and worrying and having anxiety doesn't make any of it any easier, right? It just creates more stress on our body, which creates more stress for the baby, which is not a good thing. So the more that we can kind of let go and trust and just be in the moment and with our pregnancy and with what's happening, the better it's going to feel for you, for baby, and just for your pregnancy. So just try to lean into that, try to do that. And, I'm still working on that every single day for sure. So let's talk about body changes for a second, because this one is really interesting. I'm 16 weeks and my little bump, which you can see on Instagram, that's always linked below. I'm doing bump dates weekly there for you guys, but it is finally popping out a little bit, and I'm feeling definitely like I'm looking more pregnant. I was so curious when I was going to start showing, because they say with your first, a lot of times you'll start to show a little bit between 12 and 16 weeks. And I know people that haven't shown till 22 weeks, and I know people that showed at 10 weeks with their first. And so really what I want to say is this is different for everyone. And I think we get, especially as new mamas to be, we get on that comparison train where we're like, well, if we're showing at 12 weeks and nobody else shows till 17 weeks, are we doing it wrong? Like, are we eating too much? Are we gaining too much weight? And just listen, there is a way that everybody does this, and everybody is going to be different. Just like when we gain and lose weight, we gain it and lose it in different areas first, just like how we all have different shapes and sizes of bodies, and we all look different, and we're all different, that even though we're the same in this way that we can grow life inside of our bodies, which is amazing, everybody's going to have their body react so differently. And there are so many things, like scientific things that I could tell you, like the size of your torso matters for how soon you'll show. Like if you have longer legs and a shorter torso, you'll probably pop out sooner. But there are also multiple positions of your uterus, so it can be tilted back or forward, and ones that are tilted back show later, ones that are tilted forward show sooner, and just so many other things that come into play of when you start showing. But just embrace whatever it is. I think I played the comparison game at I don't even know what it was, a couple weeks ago, where I was thinking about how much weight I had gained, because I think I'm in week 16 and I think I've gained 7.5 pounds. And I gained a lot of that in the first trimester between weeks 10 and 13, because that was when I had just completely insatiable hunger. I could not stop eating. I ate so much food. I've never been that hungry consistently in my life. It felt totally crazy and also kind of cool at the same time. But I remember playing that game of well, they say you're not supposed to gain weight in the first trimester, right? But I was also somebody that had been pretty underweight my whole life. And my doctor even told me, since you're on the lower end of the weight, this is how much we're going to want you to gain about during the pregnancy. And just talk to your doctor, tell your doctor. They're going to be guiding you in this pregnancy. Social media and mamas to be and mamas that post on social media, even me, everything that I say or that I do isn't going to work for you. It's so important to talk to your doctor, especially if you struggle with the changes in your body, especially if you're starting to grow and change and it's making you feel really weird, which I think that, it does. I think that it's weird to see your body do that for the first time. And I know that it's been really cool, but then also it's been really strange for me, because I've never experienced any of this before. And so the weight gain hasn't been as challenging or, alarming to me at all. But definitely seeing my body change is really interesting. And I think about I wonder what I'm going to look like when I'm 6 months pregnant and 9 months pregnant, because I have no idea. And I think it's really, really, really normal. So if you're struggling with it, if you want to talk to somebody about it, talk to your doctor. You can also talk to a therapist and people like that. You can always reach out to me, but every body is going to be different, and there isn't one right or wrong way to grow a baby. There just isn't. Everybody is going to do it in a different way. So don't feel like you're, singled out or doing it wrong or anything like that. And that's been important for me 1,000%. And I get to see my doctor today, this afternoon, and I'm so excited about it. I can't wait to go. Our 16-week appointment, I don't even really know what we'll get to do. I think we might get to hear the baby's heartbeat again. I know that we don't get an ultrasound. And I think that they measure my belly, which has just started to pop out, which is really exciting. And I've been really excited about it. And last night my husband was looking at me and he was like, you're starting to look like a little pregnant. And he's like, in a really good way. And it was really cute because I kept the past weeks trying to show him my bump. And he was like, yeah, it's kind of there, but not really. He was like trying to appease me and be sweet, but it hasn't really been there. And then over the weekend, it just kind of popped out. And they say that you wake up one day and all of a sudden you just have a belly. I think that's true for some people and not others. But either way, I'm really excited that mine's starting to come in and I'm starting to look less bloated and more pregnant, which is also just a funny thing. There are just so many body changes, from the stretching of your uterus and the bump that you're getting and the weight gain to just the skin and the hair and the nails and just all of those things. And I'll say that I've struggled a little bit with all of that. My nails are actually kind of beautiful. I've never had long nails in my life, so my prenatals are definitely helping with that. But the one thing that I'm really struggling with is hair loss. And I've never experienced hair loss before in my life. And a lot of times, most pregnant women experience it after they give birth. And it doesn't mean that I'm not going to have it after I give birth, but about 4 weeks ago, all my hair started falling out. And I had no idea what was happening. I was so confused and I was a little bit shocked. And I think this has been my body change that has been the hardest for me to deal with. I'm really excited to talk to my doctor about it because it started happening right after I saw her. We saw her at 11 and a half weeks. And so it started happening in week 12. And it just started breaking off everywhere. It started falling out. It got even thinner. And I've got really fine hair. And I do have quite a bit of it, but it's fine. So it will tend to look thin. And now it actually is thin. And so I've been wearing it up a lot. I don't wear it down very much because it really doesn't look very good. And I ordered a couple wigs just for fun to wear in my YouTube videos and just experiment with a little bit because I want to, feel confident. And right now with my hair loss, it's something that I don't feel super confident about. And I remind myself that it's all obviously worth it. And it's amazing because I'm growing this human, but I'm getting chest and back acne, which is something I've never had before and never experienced, and having this hair loss. And so, there are just so many body changes and so many things that happen to us. And I've never had boobs in my life, you guys, and I've gone up a full cup size, which is actually very exciting. I very much am enjoying that part of it. They hurt a lot, which is a whole different thing. But, the hair loss I've really struggled with, and I think that's what I've been struggling with the most. So if there's something going on with your body, whether it's related to your hair or acne or your other body changes like your boobs or your belly or whatever it is, your hips widening, anything like that, talk to your doctor or talk to somebody about it. Don't hold it in. Don't try to suffocate it and stifle it, right? Because that's just going to make it get worse. It's such a good thing to talk about it. And that's why I'm going to have mamas on here to talk about their experiences, because I just want to hear different stories. I wanted to obviously share my story with you guys, but I wanted you to hear from other moms and moms-to-be of what their stories are like and what they have experienced with their pregnancies and their birthing and being a mom. And so, share that with anybody that you trust that could give you some good advice or just be a good listening ear, because there are definitely some really hard parts of pregnancy. And if you want to join our Club Mom, it's a free community on Facebook that I created for all my mamas to be, people who want to have kids someday, people who are trying for kids. It's open to anyone and everyone that wants mom advice. And we just talk about so many things. I've talked about everything from purchasing my pregnancy pillow to I had a little bit of a vent the other day about, reading something on social media that kind of set me off and I was really emotional about it. And we just had a really good conversation about fitness and morning sickness and a lot of those things. And so I just encourage you to talk about it. It's why I created this podcast, to be a platform for women to share their stories. It's why I share my story openly and honestly and without hesitation and without feeling worried about, if people are going to resonate with it, because I know that if I'm feeling it, that somebody else is feeling it. I have been in the fitness industry, in the industry of online communities, and just like in the people industry, talking and communicating with and getting to know people my whole life. It's been one of my passions. I love connecting with people, love it so much. And so I have experienced that so much that I know I'm not alone and none of you are alone either. And I love to give people that reminder, because I think it's something that's really easy to forget when we're stuck in our head and our own issues and our own problems and the things that we're struggling with. We can just tend to feel really alone all the time. And that's just not the case. You have people that want to support you and want to love you and that have gone through similar things and can give you really good advice and really good insight. And so if you want to join Club Mom, I will have the link in the show notes for you as well. But it's a really fun group of women so far. And we're just connecting on a different level, giving some mom advice, giving pregnancy advice, and just chatting about things that are important to us and things that are on our minds. I think that's really the key points and the highlights that I wanted to talk about today. I just wanted to dive into some of the deeper stuff that goes on with pregnancy. I know that people are curious about how I told my husband, how we told our parents. All of that's going to be on YouTube, but I wanted to just take a minute to get really kind of down and dirty and real with you guys about my pregnancy so far and what I struggled with. And I can do more of these episodes or Q&A episodes too if you want to hear some solo episodes on my pregnancy as we continue going. But if you want to follow on my journey and see all of the updates, my Instagram and my YouTube channel are both linked below, which is where I'm posting the most updates. I'm doing about bi-weekly videos on YouTube about my pregnancy, and then weekly photos so that you can follow my bump dates. my bump dates? My bump dates, like updates. I don't know what I'm saying. It's fine. But anyway, I love you guys for listening. Thank you so much. I hope that this didn't feel redundant if you have watched some of my other pregnancy videos. I wanted to cover some new content that you guys hadn't heard before and that you might be interested in, especially for people who are pregnant or are trying to get pregnant. And just, I'm sending you guys so much love and good energy and good vibes, and I know it'll happen for you. Just keep trusting and just keep communicating. It's really, really important as you go through the process for sure. So I love you all so, so, so much. Thank you for listening to this special solo episode of the Healing Her podcast, and I will see you all on the next episode.